have you taken us away to die in the wilderness? Like, guys, just relax, okay? Because we couldn't have died more effectively in Egypt, that you have to bring us out here for us to die, okay? Why have you so dealt with us to bring us out of Egypt? Is this not the word we told you? For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. Like, just take me now, Lord, take me now. Drama, 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 okay? So God says, okay, you complained about being slaves, you complained about this, okay, let's part the Red Sea, okay? And then as I was preparing this, there was a part that I feel like I've read the story maybe 10,000 times in my life, but there was a part I never realized before. Exodus 14:25, and he took off their chariot wheels so that they drove them with difficulty. So like, not only did he part the Red Sea, okay, like Pharaoh's army behind them, he took the wheels off. I've never seen that before. Like, I'm old. I've read this story many times in my life, and I've never noticed that he even took the wheels off the chariots to slow them down, okay? And then obviously, like, the sea killed them, like, whatever, okay? So all of these things happened. They parted the Red Sea. They walked through on dry land. He took the wheels off of the chariots, okay? He took it off. This is the least important part of the story, I know, but I didn't know it before, like, 2 days ago, okay? So they see all these amazing things, and they say, thus Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt, so the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. Khalas, okay? God has sold them. He sold them. They complained and they doubted, but now they've seen the Red Sea parted. Everything is great. They're never going to complain again, right? Because they've seen magnificent things. False. False, okay? So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out in the wilderness, blah, 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 blah. They can't find water, okay? And the people complained against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? Complained again, okay? So God showed him a tree, blah, blah, blah. The waters were made sweet. Very good. They got water. Another miracle, okay? Fast forward the next chapter. So what I want you to see in this is Exodus 15, and then 16, and then 17. Like, they don't take a break between their complaints. Every time something happens, it just launches this tirade of like, woe is me, okay? So Exodus 16. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. Oh, that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat and when we ate bread to the full. Our life was so good in Egypt, and you took us out of Egypt, and you brought us here, and we have no food, and my life is so hard. Why don't you just leave me in Egypt when I was a slave, and I was happy as a slave? Like, really? Really? The Red Sea parted, the plagues, he took the wheels off the chariots, okay? They saw all of this, and oh, you should have left me in Egypt. Like, you just ruined my life by bringing me here. Okay, fine. God says, okay, fine, whatever they're complaining about, he fixes it again, okay? And then the people thirsted. And the people again complained against Moses. Like, this is a common theme. The Israelites, that's all they do. All they do. God shows them something miraculous, and they complain. And God changes their situation, and then they complain. And God does these like wondrous works in front of them that should make them believers and the most devout believers, and they complain. Fast forward, 40 years. They've been walking in the desert for 40 years, in the wilderness for 40 years. Now when the people complained, they've been complaining for 40 years, these people, okay? God promised them, and for 40 years, it's been complaint after complaint after complaint. God's annoyed. He's frustrated. And it displeased the Lord, for he heard it, and his anger was aroused. So the fire of the Lord burned among them and consumed them in the outskirts of the camp. It sounds like a pretty excessive reaction. Like, think about what that looks like. His anger was aroused, so the fire of the Lord burned among them and consumed them. They died by fire. Not fire like a forest fire. Like, he sent a fire and consumed them. It's pretty excessive. But it's been 40 years of complaining. 40 years of complaining. So you got to wonder, okay, is there more to this concept of complaining than we think about? Because it elicited from God a pretty serious reaction. I mean, it took 40 years. Give the guy some credit, okay? But the fire consumed them. So is there more to this thing of complaining that we don't think about? So what's the big deal? Okay? What is the big deal with complaining? First and foremost, complaining offends God. it offends God, okay? And you can see that by the fact that the fire of the Lord burned among them and consumed some of them in the outskirts of the camp. That's a pretty excessive reaction. But even when you go into 1 Corinthians and you read, okay, this passage is about how we should use the example of the Israelites like as a what not to do, okay? So like let's not commit sexual immorality, whatever, okay? And in one day, 23,000 fell, nor let us tempt Christ, as some of them also were tempted, and were destroyed by serpents, nor complain, as some of them also complained, and were destroyed by the destroyer. Like he's saying, don't make the same mistakes that they made, because they obviously, what's a nice way to say it, like made him mad, okay? And they reaped the wrath of that. So don't make the same mistake of complaining that they made. So people always tell me that the best way to like understand the relationship between God the Father and yourself is when you have kids, right? Like I have kids, they're very young, so like I'm not there yet. Like they don't annoy me to the point that like older kids annoy their parents yet. Like my oldest daughter is 2, like she's fine, okay? But I remember like starkly when I was serving like kids in like high school. Sorry, some of my previous kids are here. Sorry, you guys are not annoying. The other ones were annoying, okay? It was so annoying, okay? Because you'd be like planning a retreat for like months, okay? And like I'm on the phone at work and I'm trying to call like 30,000 places. Does this place have a gym? No, it doesn't have a gym. Okay, take it off. But it's a good price, but the food is good, but it doesn't have a gym. We can't go anywhere that doesn't have a gym. And then you go and you find another place, and I'm literally on the phone like at work, and you're planning these retreats for months, and you order the shirts, and you come up with the topics, and you're 100 meetings with the servants, and you get to the retreat. Why do we always come to places like this? Why can't we go to LA? The food here sucks. Oh my gosh, these sessions are so boring. We're so sick of hearing of the same servants talking all the time. Who ordered these shirts? Do they think these are stylish? Like, and it's just complaint after, and you just want to kill yourself because you're like, I'm not getting paid for this. Like, please, if you don't like the shirts, don't wear them. I'll take them all. I like them. Like, and you just like, not you guys, the other ones, okay? Not you guys. You guys were great. Okay? And you like it drives you crazy. It drives you crazy because you're trying so hard and you're trying to like, and you shouldn't be trying so hard to make them happy. This is not about them. This is about your service to God. Like nobody cares if you like it or not. I'm serving God. But you're trying. You're really trying, and all you hear is all the things you did wrong. All you hear is all the things that you could have done better. And it's so frustrating. And that's what we do to God. All we tell him is all the things he did wrong. All we tell him is all the things in our life that are going on that he didn't do well. Nothing positive, okay? Do we like it, we're more likely to go to God when things are going horribly than when things are great, okay? Because we're full of words when things are going horrible, but when things are bad, there's not as much to say. Complaining offends God because at the root of your complaint, you're complaining against him. At the root of your complaint, you don't trust him, you're not submitting to him, and you're second-guessing his will or his decisions. You don't like your circumstances, you're complaining about your circumstances. You're not acknowledging at all that maybe God has put you in those circumstances for a reason. Maybe he's refining you. Maybe he's trying to teach you something. Maybe your discomfort will somehow bring him glory. We're going to get to that later, okay? You don't acknowledge that. All you acknowledge is that something about where he put you is wrong, and it needs to be fixed. Like, I'm sure my kids are going to annoy me in a few years, but speaking as a servant who served kids, like, the level of annoyance that I felt, not about you guys, like, and they're complaining about stupid things, like, who cares? I can't imagine, like, extrapolate that onto, like, real-world problems or, like, real-world gifts that he's given us. I can't imagine. Like, yeah, the fires should consume them in the outskirts of their camp. Like, that's brutal. They've seen everything. They've seen a Red Sea part. He took the wheels off the chariots, okay? And complains. Complaining offends God. It should offend God. He's given you everything. And all you're telling him is all the things he did wrong. It should offend him. It's entirely reasonable that it does. This is a harsh message. I'm not sorry, okay? But it's a harsh message, okay? Lamentations 3:39. Why should the living complain when punished for their sins? Okay? When we talk about complaints, we need to check ourselves, okay? Like, what this verse is saying is like, who do you think you are? Complaining in light of all the things that you do. You're X, Y, and Z. You're whatever. You're a liar. You're a sinner. You're gross. You're everything wrong with you. And you think that you have the audacity to complain to him despite all of your baggage, despite all the things that are wrong with you, okay? We all know, and I don't need to tell you, that none of us are worthy. We all know, okay? I can sit here and tell you all the reasons why I'm not worthy. I don't know you, but I can tell you why I'm not worthy. But we all know this is something that's indisputable, okay? And in light of all of that baggage, I feel like I have the audacity to complain to God and to tell him why all the blessings he's given me are not enough. Like, I know that this verse in Lamentations is harsh, but sometimes we need to check ourselves. Like, who are you? Who am I to sit there and think that I have the audacity to complain against him, given my laundry list of like, stuff, like bad things that I do? Nobody has that clean record. But still, we think we're important enough to do that. Complaining offends God, okay? And, sorry, I know it's really small. I just want a disclaimer, okay? This is more for my notes than for you. This is not really about you. This is just my talking points. I don't really care if you guys can read them. Sorry, okay? So, complaining offends God, okay, first. And the second thing is that complaining carries serious consequences. And the consequences can be divided into two, like, categories. So, a human level and a spiritual level, okay? From a spiritual perspective, okay, we've seen that it offends God. Okay, we've seen that, like, he can only take so much, and then he'll burn you with the fires in the outskirts of your camp. Okay, like not literally, but figuratively. Okay, so we talked about Exodus and the Israelites. Okay, fast forward to Numbers. Okay, this is still going on. Okay, and the Promised Land and this and that, and then again they complained to Moses and Israel about the Promised Land and all the things that are bad and blah blah blah, and then this is the final thing before, like, they're literally sitting like. Here are they, and the Promised Land is like right there. Like, they can see it. They send spies out to look at it and whatever, okay? And God is telling them, how long shall I bear with this evil congregation who complains against me, okay? Like, how much longer is this complaining gonna go on? Like, how much longer am I gonna have to sit here and listen to you guys complain? And then, what does God do? Okay, I encourage you guys to go and read this because it's a long passage. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing right now. He changes his mind. Okay? He says, you shall by no means enter the land which I swore I would make you dwell in. Okay? They had his blessings. It was a done deal. Okay? It was in the palm of their hands. They had it. He had promised them the promised land. He had promised them a great life. He had promised them everything. And then, because of complaining, he says, forget it. Forget it. Like, I want to give this to you. I want this for you. Forget it. And, like, he has every right to. Like, I have to, like, think about this again as a parent, okay? Or, like, as a servant, okay? I'm trying to plan a retreat. I'm trying to plan an outing. I'm trying to plan a whatever. And all I hear, I don't want to go. It's so boring. No. Who's going? Forget it. Like, forget it. I don't want to do it. If none of you guys want to do it anyways, then forget it. We're not going to do it. I want to take my daughter to the zoo. If all I'm going to hear is, like, I mean, she's not going to complain. She loves the zoo. But, like, if all I'm going to hear is, like, oh, it's too hot. Oh, the animals smell. Oh, I don't want to go. Oh, I'm too tired. Oh, I don't want to walk. Okay, forget it. Like, if all of these things are wrong with our idea about the zoo, we're not going to go. Forget it. This is exactly where God was. And they had his blessings, and they lost it. They lost it because of their complaining against God. Like, how many times have we done that, and we don't even know? Right? Like, it sucks for them because they knew that this is what they were going to get, and then it was taken away, and, like, they died and stuff. Like, it was pretty harsh. Like, carcasses and stuff everywhere. Like, it was harsh. Read it. Go home and read it. Okay? But they had it. They had it in the palm of their hand, and they lost it because of their complaining. Because their complaining is a reflection of all the things they think God is doing wrong, and a reflection of their ungratefulness. A reflection of them esteeming themselves, having the audacity to say all the things that he's doing wrong. Like, what they view about themselves, that's the inside problem, okay? But the outside problem is that now their course was changed. Now, what he had promised for them, what he wanted to give them out of his love for them, they never got because they lost his blessings. It's not a small deal, this concept of complaining. So that's the spiritual level, okay? On the human level, okay, like people, relationships, complaining has like people consequences. So they call complaining like bad breath, okay? Like if you talk to somebody who has bad breath, okay? Like I'm sure they're very nice or whatever, but they're talking like this and you're doing this, okay? Because like, you know, as much as you're happy to see that person, like, okay? That's what complaining does to your relationships. Because nobody wants to hang around with somebody who's just going to bring them down all the time, who only has negative things to say. Like, life is hard enough, okay? Every single person in this room has some stressor or something that's going on. Life is hard enough. I don't need your negativity that's going to battle my negativity. Like, we each have our own. I don't need yours as well. And so complainers, they do this to other people. And it makes people not want to be around them. And you either end up isolating yourself, because nobody wants to be your friend because you're annoying, or you only surround yourself with people who are like you. And then you find that some of your relationships, the only basis to your friendship is that you guys like to get together and complain. Like, there's an Arabic word for that. So for the people who speak Arabic very well, I usually only pull this out for comedic relief. My Arabic is horrible, okay? But it's like naked. Do you know what that is? Like, if there's anybody who's not Arabic speaking, like, I don't know how to, some words I don't know how to translate in Arabic. Like naked, like people who are just like this, like all the time, like they're always miserable and they're always negative and they're always complaining and they just, like, everything is like down, they're like Debbie Downers. That's probably like the English translation of naked. Like that's what you do. You surround yourself with naked. Like you can't even say the word without like cringing. Like, it's just like misery. Like, misery loves company. That's what it is. Misery loves company, okay? Like, people who are complainers end up doing that to themselves. And then they complain about how everybody's negative, right? So somebody once told me a story. There was like a real estate, and he was showing a couple like a new neighborhood, okay? And so they came, whatever, and they asked him, oh, how are the neighbors in this area? And the guy was like, the real estate was like, how are the neighbors in your old area? Like, oh, they were so annoying. Like, they never did anything for anybody, and they were not friendly, and they were all complaints. And he said, you know what? You'll probably find that they're the same here. And then next day, different couple, same house, same neighborhood. And they ask him the same questions. How are the neighbors here? And he says, how are the neighbors where you came from? Oh, they were so lovely. You know, they always brought things by, and everybody was so great. And he said, you know what? You'll probably find that people are the same here. Because you do that to yourself. You bring out in others what you project. If you bring positivity, you will bring out the positivity in other people. If you complain and you're negative, you will bring that negativity out in other people. I have one, I never talk about this out loud, except with my husband. I have one good friend of mine, and it's like that. Like, she's great, and like I love her, she's great. But usually when we get together, it's like that. It's just like complaint after complaint after complaint, to the point where like going out with her started to be a chore. Like she would text me like, hey, you want to hang out? And then I would tell my husband like, oh, so-and-so texted me. And he'd be like, okay, like, going to hang out there? I'm like, oh, like, things are so great right now. Like, you don't want anyone to bring you down. And you also don't want to go and hang out with somebody and feel like it's because you have to. Like, you know, you guys are all like young and cool and life is so great. Like, I'm a mom, man. Like, I don't go out that often. When I go out, it better be worth it. If I'm leaving my kids at home and they're screaming and they're crying with my husband and he's going to kill himself, like, it better be worth it. And it's not worth it for me to go out to somewhere with this person and she's complaining for like 2 hours. It makes you, like, being a mom makes you like less patient because you don't have that much chill time. It's this much. And I'm going to use it wisely. So, like, from a human perspective, it has consequences as well. Like, it's not just from a spiritual perspective. Obviously, the spiritual perspective is the bigger consequence, and it's more, like, detrimental to your life than your human consequences, but the human consequences are very much there. So how come we never notice it? Okay? How come this is a topic that we don't really talk about that often, and people are like, so when I told a few friends that this is the topic for today, they're like, what? Complaining? Like, why? Who cares? Like, why don't we ever see this as anything but a surface level? Okay? Because it's cultural. Unfortunately, it has become something that's cultural. And it's mind-boggling when you think about it. Because we are like, so, I mean, I don't know what's coming in the future. But if I sit here and I compare myself to my parents' generation, okay, I have way more than my parents had. Way more. At a younger age. Okay? We are doing so much better than they are. Like, we have so much more than they ever had. Opportunity. There's no language barrier. Let's just start there. Okay? Like, we graduated at a younger age. We didn't have to immigrate to another country and start over at like 40. Like, we didn't have to do that. We have so much more. But we are so much more critical of everything. We are so much more skeptical. We are so much more negative. And people call us the academic generation. That's a lie, okay? Because they're not any dumber than we are. They're just happier than we are. Why? I hate when people say that, just so you guys know. I hate when people call us the academic generation because it makes it sound like they're dumber. They're not dumber. They're harder working and they complain less. We just look for reasons why everything is wrong. We look for things to complain about and we do studies about all the things that are wrong with our life and how we can complain about them more. We're not more academic. We're more annoying, okay? That's what we are, okay? But the other thing is that we're skeptical, okay? So this whole concept of confirmation bias, okay, is essentially you go somewhere and you're looking for a reason to prove yourself right. That's what confirmation bias is. So, like, let's say there's somebody in this room who really doesn't like me, okay? The only reason they're here is to poke holes in everything I'm saying. So within 3 seconds of my starting, they've already found 25 things I've said that are wrong. Because they're coming here to confirm what they already know is that I have no idea what I'm talking about. That's confirmation bias, okay? When you're negative, you live under confirmation bias, okay? You're looking for all the reasons why things are wrong in society, okay? You come to SMSV for the first time and you don't like SMSV. Oh, they do this and they do these people. This is not a real church, okay? Or you're from SMSV and you have a problem with another church. You go to another church. Oh, look at this place. They're archaic. Look at all the things that they do wrong, okay? You're looking for something to be wrong. If you're looking, you will always find it. You will always find something that can be wrong. Like no matter what the topic is, you will always find something to complain about. And it's mind-boggling because the more you have, the more you look for something to complain about, like the Israelites. The more magnificent the works that they saw, the more they complained. It's ridiculous. It makes me crazy, okay? Like, I even see it, again, someone told me last week that I have to stop talking about goals and relationship goals. I don't care. I love that service. It's my favorite service. This one's great too, but that's definitely number one, okay? If you're talking about relationships, okay? And let's say you have a girl who's been jaded by a guy, okay? He treated her bad, whatever. All of a sudden, all guys are jerks. And we talk so carefully about people checking their baggage because if you walk into a relationship and your foundation is that all guys are jerks, the person in front of you doesn't stand a chance. They don't stand a chance. And same thing with guys. If they were in a relationship and a girl hurt them or a girl did whatever, a girl cut them down and didn't build them up, they walk into the next relationship and they're just waiting. They're waiting for her to prove them right that girls can only cut people down. They're just waiting. And now that relationship doesn't stand a chance. Confirmation bias. This, probably only prevalent to people who are old like me, but there's also a phenomenon that these super cool sociologists with their obscure research have found, that the smaller your family, the more likely your family is to complain and to not be happy, okay? And their hypothesis is that the smaller the number of children, the greater the sense of entitlement, okay? And I can see that. I can totally get it. So, I only have 2 kids right now. Talk to my husband, okay? So, my daughter, Millie, okay, when she came, she was everything, okay? Millie was everything, okay? She was born and she consumed our lives. Everything was planned around her nap times and her meal times. And we can't go on vacation here because I'm not sure if we're going to be able to find the kind of food that she likes to eat. And if they don't like it, I can't go. I'm not flying. Forget it, okay? Literally, last summer we had a bad experience with a flight. And I told my husband, I'm never, ever, ever going on a non-direct flight again. Because it was too hard on Millie. She's our life, okay? She was our life, okay? 100%. Because everything in our life now conforms to what Millie needs, okay? And now we have Toby. He's okay, I'm just kidding. I love him. He's so cute, okay? But it's the same thing. There's only 2 of them, right? So, I don't have to sacrifice Millie's needs for Toby's. Whatever, okay? Okay, fine. One nap's at 10, the other nap's at 12. I just stay home all day. That's fine. This is why I need to go out. This is why I don't go out with complainers, okay? Literally. If I had 6 kids, okay, and I make dinner, and Millie doesn't like it, tough. There's another 5 kids behind you who are going to eat it happily, and they're going to take your portion too if you don't like it, no problem. But if I only have 2 kids, and Millie doesn't like it, I got to make something else, right? So their hypothesis is that the smaller the number of children, the more you go out of your way to make your system bend to their will. But the larger the number of children, the more the children bend to whatever system you've put in place in your household, okay? And like, the smaller the number of children, the more they feel entitled. Like, think about that stereotype of like an only child. I hope nobody here is an only child. Like, it's a stereotype. It's not that necessarily true, okay? Like, there are many only children that are fine, okay? But the stereotype of an only child is that they're like very entitled because they're like the center of the universe and this and this and that, okay? That's what we do when we complain, right there. We tell God that we are the center of the universe, okay? And I don't like my dinner. So you have to change it and you have to make me something else, okay? I am the center of the universe and my complaints mean that you have to change something to fix your complaints. That's why complaining is a spiritual problem at its root, because you've put yourself as the center of the universe. You've put yourself as the person whose needs need to be met, and not the fact that you need to serve him. No. He needs to serve you. And that's why you're complaining. You need to make known the fact that there's something wrong from your perspective, and he has to fix it. All of a sudden, you're center stage. You're the main character, and God is the supporting actor. Nobody's the main character here. You're not even the coffee guy. You're not even the guy at the bilia who has to run and buy them whatever and pick up their dry cleaning. That's not us. But the second you start complaining, you move God to the side and you put yourself on center stage. No wonder he wants to burn them, consume them with fire in the outskirts of their camp. It's backwards. It's entirely backwards. What you're telling him is that he needs to change his divine wisdom and all the beautiful things that he has promised. He has to change all of that because you, in your narrow-minded thinking, cannot see that and you don't like it and you're complaining about it. Like, when you dig a little bit deeper at that concept of complaining, it makes consuming them with fire make a little bit more sense. Like, when you first read it, you're like, wow, that's really excessive. But no. And 40 years of this, 40 years of them telling him that everything he's doing is not enough for them. Everything that he's doing is wrong. And these are the things that he should be doing better. 40 years of this. 40 years of that ungratefulness. 40 years of them elevating themselves above God's wisdom. By complaining. Like, it is not a small deal. And unfortunately, we take it at face value. So how do we fix it? Go to scripture, because I don't know anything, okay? So, step number 1, what should you do? Don't complain. Let's start there, okay? We've discussed that complaining is a big problem. Don't do it, okay? Do all things without complaining and disputing. St. Paul said it. Do all things without complaining and disputing, because complaining makes you the center of the universe. It's all about you. If you take yourself outside of the center of the universe, you change your perspective. Just in and of itself, the decision to not complain takes you out of the center of every situation. Not every situation is about your inconvenience or your convenience. Not every situation is about how you feel. Nobody cares. So when you take yourself out of the center of the universe and you stop complaining, then you have like enough mind space to think about other people and to think about other things. Complaining is a choice, okay? Just like for people who were here last week, okay? I always tell people, we talked about the breakup thing. I don't remember how it was relevant, okay? But always my perspective is happiness is a decision, always, okay? Everybody's got drama. Every single person can sit around in a circle here and one-up the person beside them about the trial that they've been through and the difficult situation that they've been through. I can sit here and give you my laundry list of why life has not been fair to me, okay? Doesn't matter. Happiness is a decision. When you complain, you choose to focus on the negative and you choose to forget the positive. That's what you choose to do. Because no matter what your complaints are, There is no debating the fact that God has put blessings in your life. Yeah, there are trials and there are tribulations and there are hard times, okay? But God has put blessings in your life with the trials and tribulations. So when you complain, what you choose to do is focus on the negative and ignore the positive. That's what you choose to do. So here's my challenge for you, okay? Philippians 2:14, the verse that we just read. Do all things without complaining and disputing, okay? 1 week, 7 days, no complaints, okay? This is very hard, okay? I've been working on this for a few days, okay? And so it's been in the back of my mind, and I'm like, whatever, I'll just start the challenge with them on Sunday. But like, it's in the back of my mind, right? Okay. Every time somebody asks me, oh, how's Toby doing? And I'm like, oh, he's not sleeping through the night yet. That's a complaint. Okay? Just now, okay? Just now, okay? I went out last night. I feel so young and cool today, okay? I went out last night, went to the X with a bunch of young kids who don't have any kids and who aren't married. Like, I was so young, okay? We went out to the X last night. We had it was so much fun. We had a great time. The pickle pizza, if anybody's going, is delicious. Somebody needs to try the pickle pizza, okay? We went out, whatever, had a great night, came home on cloud 9. I'm an extrovert, right? So I get my energy from like these like social outings and whatever. Had a great time, okay? This morning, the people who were with me last night were like, hey, whatever, how's your morning? I'm like, oh. Millie woke up with a fever. Complaint. I had a great night last night. Instead of focusing on the, man, I woke up so excited because we had such a great time last night, I focus on the, Millie woke up with a fever. It happens, and sometimes you don't even notice that you're doing it. So I've been like not committing to doing it for the last few days, but it's been in the back of my mind, and it's a lot harder than you would expect it to be. So I'm challenging everybody here, okay? I don't know if I'm doing session number 3, but if I am, I will call you out on it on session number 3. 7 days, no complaints, okay? And if that's really hard, sure, then stop there, okay? If by like 2 days in, you're able to do it, then one-up it. Ephesians 4:29. Let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth, but what is good for necessary edification, that it may impart grace to the hearers. Every time you have a complaint that's coming out of your mouth, flip it for something positive, okay? So Millie had a fever last night, but thank God she didn't have it last night, because then I wouldn't have been able to go. Flip it. Flip it for something positive. And I'm telling you, it'll not only transform the people who are talking to you because they won't want to kill themselves in your conversation, but it will also change your perspective on life. It'll change like your way of thinking, okay? Because the goal here is to fix the inside, okay? The goal here is not to train your mouth or not to say the right things. The goal is to feel the right things, right? It's to train your heart. To be grateful and to train your heart to acknowledge the blessings in your life. I don't care what you say. It's about what you feel. So the flipping it is what's bringing it deeper. So the not complaining is just training your mouth, okay? But if you can take that complaint and flip it into something positive, that's you training your heart. That's the long game, okay? The not complaining for 7 days, that's the short game. But being able to train your heart, that's the long game. So that's not something that I'm going to put a deadline on. You don't have to only do that for 7 days. You have to do that for the rest of your life, okay? So what do? Don't complain. Why do we not complain? Because lack of complaining is Christ-like. So that same verse, Philippians, like the one that we're playing with, 2:14-18, okay? Do all things without complaining and disputing. That's what we should do. Why? That you may become blameless and harmless children of God without fault in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. Because you are blameless and harmless children of God. Do all things without complaining and disputing, because you are children of God. That's what this verse is saying. When you do things without complaining and disputing, you are children of God. Not complaining is Christ-like. Not complaining is bringing you closer to the image that He created you in. Because He didn't form you as this negative, naked thing. He didn't do that. We did that. And the further away you can get from the complaining and disputing, the closer you go to becoming in His image and likeness. How do we do it? Happiness is a decision, okay? You choose to rejoice no matter what. You choose to give thanks no matter what. You choose to put a smile on your face no matter what life has dealt you. You choose, Okay? You choose to reject society's expectation of you to like whine and cry and post these rants on Facebook and have your 500 days of mourning and whatever. You choose to reject that, and you choose to smile and to rejoice anyway. Okay? Yes, and if I'm being poured out as a drink offering on the sacrifice and service of your faith, I am glad and rejoice with you all. Okay? If my discomfort brings him glory, I rejoice. If my inconvenience brings him discomfort, I rejoice. Maybe the reasons why I would be complaining are things that he has in mind for a specific reason. Maybe the reasons why I'm complaining are things that he is using to refine me, to fix somebody else, to show somebody else his glory. Maybe. You don't know. And so when that happens, you choose to rejoice. You choose to be glad because you know that you are working according to his will. You choose to be happy because happiness is a decision. If you know that the reason that you're complaining will bring him glory, isn't it worth it? Isn't that why we're here? You choose to acknowledge that. And then you remember. This one for me is always the hardest. Because when you're in the middle of a circumstance and you want to kill yourself, you don't want to think back about all the wonderful things that he did. But that's actually the way to train your heart. So when God was talking to these Israelites and they were complaining and this and that, and he wanted to remind them of the amazing work that they did, he told them to do something tangible. He commands them to take the manna, okay, and keep it in a jar to remind them that you didn't have food, but I gave you, okay? You didn't have X, but I gave it to you, okay? This seemed impossible, but I fixed it. I have blessings that I want to give you. This is a tangible reminder that this is what I do for you. So don't sit there and complain when I know and you know that blessings are coming and that blessings are here, even if you can't see them. You need a tangible reminder. This is my plug for journaling and quiet times. Anybody who's ever heard me talk hears the same message all the time, but we as human beings need a tangible reminder. For me, it's something written that I can flip back and say, yeah, you know what, I was pretty like suicidal here and I wanted to kill myself and whatever, and just joking, not actually suicidal. And look what he did. He fixed it. He transformed me. He made everything amazing. He did the same thing with the Israelites. They needed a tangible reminder. Whatever your way of remembering things are, do it. Just do it. Figure it out, because when you can find a way to remind yourself, it is much harder for you to forget about his blessings and be ungrateful and turn that into complaining. So remember all the amazing things that he's done in your life, okay? All the blessings that he's given you. And how can you complain given all the things that he's already done for you? And check yourself. I know that this is the unpopular part of the talk. I get it, okay? But check yourself, okay? Remember who you are. And who do you think you are with these complaints? Right? Like 1 Timothy says, and I thank Christ Jesus our Lord who has enabled me because he counted me faithful, putting me in the ministry, although I was a blasphemer, a persecutor, and an insolent man. I thank God that he's given me X, Y, and Z, although I am laundry list. Okay? Check yourself. Because there are a lot of things that we shouldn't feel like we have the right to complain about. But we do, because we've forgotten who you are. So remember the positive, okay? But also don't forget about the skeletons in your closet. Don't forget that you're not center stage, and you're not perfect, and you don't have the audacity to stand there before him and tell him all the things that he's done wrong. Okay, so 7 days. Again, I don't know if I'm talking next Sunday or not. I'll ask Abu and Thomas, I'm not sure. But either way, 7 days, next Sunday, no complaints, okay? 0. And like, remember what I said the first slide? Is be real with yourself, okay? Don't make excuses. I'm just venting. I'm just praying. She asked me how my day was, so I'm just answering her question. None of that business, okay? No complaints, full stop. And every time a complaint is coming or it comes, flip it for something positive. Okay, that's it. Any questions? Sorry, I ran over time as always, but I didn't promise this time to be on time because I knew it wasn't going to happen. Any questions? I mean, they were complaining to Moses about the situation that God has put them in. So I hear what you're saying, right? So bring your complaints to God. I would caution you with that line of thinking. So my first thing was, don't label your complaints as prayers, because that's not necessarily true, okay? Prayer and complaints are entirely different, okay? So I'll give you an analogy, okay? When I meet up with my best friend, one of two best friends, okay, and we have a vent session, okay? And she just had a baby too, right? So we're all like in the same place. We just want to kill everybody and kill our husbands, and nobody's sleeping, and blah, 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 okay? So it's like the first like 45 minutes is everybody venting, okay? And then the rest of the chill is just talking, right? There is a very stark difference between the venting and the talking. It's the same thing with God. There's complaining and there's praying. They're very different. Complaining is telling him all the things that are wrong, that he's done wrong. Praying is having a conversation with him, right? So I would caution you to check yourself. And I don't at all discourage anybody from laying their burdens down at the feet of Christ, right? That's what we're supposed to do. But when you lay your burdens down at the feet of Christ and put like a little asterisk and say, so can you change X, Y, and Z because I hate my life, okay? That's not really laying it down and submitting control. That's you telling him all the things that are wrong that he needs to fix, as opposed to like, Lord, strengthen me for whatever your will is. Open-ended. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, absolutely lay your burdens down, but if you're gonna lay them down, don't sit there and explain to him and highlight all the things that are wrong with your burdens and why it's a burden. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a very stark difference between a complaint and a prayer. And I would encourage people to like develop enough self-reflection to discern which one is which. Do you know what I'm saying? Any other questions? No? Okay. So the first one was comparing yourself. The second one, and no kids today, right? So no interruptions for me. That's why I'm like relaxed. Although I really need to get home because I'm sure they're driving my husband crazy. So the first one was comparing. This one was complaining. The third one will be gossiping. And the fourth one will be making excuses. Okay? So I quit comparing, I quit complaining, I quit gossiping, and I quit making excuses for myself. Okay? All right. Announcements from the people who are important.
Thank you, and nice round of applause. My favorite part for sure is, you're not afraid to tell us to check ourselves. And also reminding us that